Ooh, so much carbon. So in this video, I am gonna show you how I made my new rod kicker or boom kicker, as you call it in US. So the video is gonna be in 3 steps. First off, I'm gonna talk about why I'm installing a rod kicker. Then I'm gonna show you how I actually made it. And then finally, we will install it on the boat and go for a little test sail. So please follow along. And remember, if you like this video, please give it a little like. And if you want to see more content, please hit the subscribe button. It's gonna help a lot. So please follow along. So you might ask, why even installing a rod kicker on a fairly small sailboat as the day tripper? The day tripper is only 8 meters long and weighs about 1.4 ton. So the most common practice in smaller sailboats, that's not to have a rod kicker. You would simply use the main halyard as the topping lift when you don't have the sail up, just to prevent the boom from lying in the cockpit. I found that's a bit annoying, and that's how the boat was set up originally when you bought it. Reason for that is that whenever you want to hoist the sail, you need to unclip your main halyard from the boom, meaning the boom will fall down to the cockpit. And in our case, it wouldn't, because we still had the lazy jacks hanging, but then suddenly you're putting all the weight of the boom, the mainsail, on the lazy jacks that are attached up to the 2 carbon fiber spreaders on the mast. And I found that's a bit bit wonky if you're gonna have a bit rough sea state. Plus, I didn't really like having to unclip from the boom, going up to the deck, need to clip to the mainsail, and then hoist sail when we are out of the marina. Why not just to install another topping lift? So you're gonna have a separate topping lift going to the top of the mast to the boom to keep the boom up, and then have a separate halyard. Well, another good reason for that, and I'm gonna show you on the little drawing here. The day tripper has some racing pedigree in the mainsail design. So you can see it has a what we call a square top sail, as you normally see on catamarans and more like performance sailboats. And you can see if I would have a normal topping lift going from the top of the mast to the boom, it will go in this one. So now we have what looks like a normal sail shape. So you can see whenever we were hoisting the sail, so we'll sit down here, and you have a topping lift. So we actually tried this, and before we made the rod kicker, this sail would always get caught somewhere in the first third on the topping lift. So it would either be on one side or the other, and it was very annoying. You had to go up and try and pull it down. So that's why. So the rod kicker here will be installed from the deck to a place here. And that's gonna give sufficient force to keep the boom upwards. And also when you are in a light wind condition, to actually lift up the boom a bit especially when you're on a broad reach. All right, so let's jump into the build of the new rod kicker or boom kicker, I think you call it in US. So these are 3 main components. We got a outer tube in carbon fiber. This is 40 millimeters. We got the inner tube, which is 30 millimeter. And we got the 1200 Newton gas strap that's going to give the push up to the boom. So besides these 3 main components, I will have to manufacture a bit of fittings in each end, and there's going to be some sliding parts. But let's jump into the 3D so it makes a bit more sense. A run through of my fairly simple 3D model. So this big plate down here that represents the deck of the boat, the mast will be sitting around here, pointing up, and the boom would be here. In general, it's just 2 tubes sliding in and out. Let me just slide this in half, and on the inside, you can see that the gas strap sits up here. The gas strap is mounted to the end bracket that's attached to the carbon fiber tube. Then moving downwards, the other end of the gas strap will be fitted to a bushing. So this is going to be made of a Delrin, which has quite low friction when it slides against the tube. which is then attached to the inner tube. And moving even further down, we have another Delrin bushing sitting here. We just make sure everything is nice and centered. And then even further down towards the deck joint, we have a end cap here. This is going to be made of aluminium, which is going to attach to a swivel bracket, which is then going to be attached to the deck. So fairly simple setup. I will have to manufacture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. I'm gonna start with making the two Delrin parts. It's been quite a long time since I used the lathe downstairs. I think the last time was actually when I made the radar bracket. I made a tilting happy video here on my YouTube channel as well. So I might be a bit rusty, so it's good to start with some quite soft plastic. So that's going to be the two sliding parts. So let me jump now to the basement and meet you up here when I'm done. And I am back from the basement, so it went quite well with the two first Delrin pieces. So this guy here is going to be sitting in the outer tube. This is going to be the end, so this is the end pointing down towards the deck. Then on the inner tube, you're going to have this guy here, quite solid piece. The reason why it's quite solid is because this one is actually going to take the load from the, up here we have an 8mm threaded hole. So this is where the gas drop is going to slide in the entire thingy here and mount this guy here. When these two guys are locked in place, well, everything slides quite nicely together. But that was the two easy parts. Next up is going to be the parts in aluminium. So that's going to be the end cap for the big tube. It's going to be the end cap for the small tube. It's going to be the swivel mount for the deck, and also the end up on the boom. Once again, I'm going to go down to the lathe and the end caps. I'm going to do the rough cut there. And then I'm going to transfer those to my little CNC machine to do the last tweaks. So once again, I shall go to the basement. There's a lot of machining. We got the big end cap here. We got the smaller end cap here. This is the one that's going to attach up to the boom. So end cap fits nicely here, and I also pre-drilled a mounting hole in the carbon fiber. So it's going to be a 5mm bolt going through here. So remember, the bolt is not going to take any load because all the loads are compression forces. So it's going to be the end cap on the carbon fiber tube. And then to attach to the boom, I have this guy here. And it's going to give a possibility for everything just to rotate just a bit. So imagine when the boom sits like this, the boom can rotate without restraining the entire tube here and gonna cause some issues. I am down to only actually missing, I think, one part, and that's gonna be the swivel mount. That's gonna take a bit of time because it's gonna be a full CNC thing. It's gonna be a double-sided machining, so meaning that you're gonna have a plate of 20mm aluminum, machine from one side, flip it over, machine from the other side, and drill some holes afterwards. And the last part is in. I do have a homemade CNC machine made of mostly plywood and some scrap pieces, whatever I have. So that's why I can't really go that fast when I'm milling metals. But anyway, I have a nice part here. It's, well, to be fair, I'm not a machinist, but it's gonna work out. So this guy is gonna be attached to the lower end cap. Very simple thing called a fork mount. We're gonna have a bolt through here, and the entire thing can just like scroll up and down. So next up, that's actually gonna be mounting everything back together, but without the gas stroud. And that is because I still don't know the exact length. So these pieces of tube are 1 meter. I have a rough measurement from the mounting part on the deck to the boom, around 1 meter and 29 centimeters. But I kind of need to go down and mount it. So by not having the gas mount, I can simply have the two tubes sliding in and out of each other, mounting in the two different locations, then mark how much I need to cut off the inner tube, and yeah, then we should have found the right length. Remember, this gas stroud has a stroke of 200 millimeters, and according to my simple geometry calculations, I would only need about 70 millimeters of total travel in order to move the boom more than 200 millimeters at the end. So that should be good. So I'm gonna mount everything back together, drive to the boat, and we are gonna drill a hole in the boat. That's nice. We're gonna mount the end, and then mark the inner tube, cut it, mount it, and we are almost done. End cap just like slide in, it's quite tight fit because when I'm gonna trim off the inner tube, it will happen from this end here since I already screwed in the bushing there. It just started raining, so I guess I'm gonna have a break now. Massive rain, so this is typical Danish summer. You have really nice 22 degrees, sunny, and then suddenly the sky just explodes. So I'm gonna have a little croissant, and hopefully I can get back to this. So another rain shower just passed, but I spent the time down here in this very tiny cabin to trim off the tube. Well, I actually did it outside because of the carbon fiber dust. I got quite wet. But now we have a hopefully correct length. I measured 6 times before I did the final cut. And inside is also the gas strout. So in about 30 seconds, this rain will be gone and I will go out and mount it, and hopefully it's gonna carry the boom. Slight setback, and that is that the entire boom I knew that could rotate, but because of the mounting point is so much lower than the rotating point, it kind of like sometimes just kicks the boom to the side here. So I need to think. I could maybe mount it up here, that way I'm at least closer to the pivot point, so maybe the kicking to the side won't be that pronounced. Finally, I got the rod kicker installed.
Yeah, so I had that issue with the boom were rotating, which I didn't really anticipate would be an issue, that the rod kicker would just kind of kick it to the side. So I fixed that by making a little 3D printed part up here. So it's basically just a cup that sits around the boom, and then the main bolt there is kind of like fixating the rotation in place. So this is not a permanent fix. I know that this is 3D printed, even though it's carbon fiber. It is not nearly as strong as real carbon fiber. So during the winter, I will probably make a nice one. Arm out here, it's about a blistering 4 knots of wind, so not the most severe conditions, but I'm thinking probably the best way to test it out in some calm. Let's say we have an issue with the rod kicker that will suddenly break in half, so I'd rather test it now than later. So let's go through the rod kicker, how it sits on the deck itself. It's mounted down there on the deck, and you might ask, why didn't the guy just put it on the mast as you always see it's being done? Well, so you can see this. So this boat is equipped with a rotating wing mast. That means, well, the mast is constantly rotating according to the wind and how the sail is pulling on the aft edge of the mast. So I kind of anticipated, if I'm gonna mount the rod kicker up there somewhere, that will make some kind of wonky stuff. I was a bit in doubt. I think it works. There's a guy up in Sweden that has a similar setup mounted there, and this works. But I thought it was also probably easier to mount it down there. And another benefit, as you can see, so the mast has a quite deep cutout there. And now I'm able to place the rod kicker rotating pivot point just on line with the boom itself. So that is kind of like how you normally do it. Let's just try it out. That when I pull down here, it just bounces back up. So this is pretty amazing. I mean, boats have been sailing around for probably centuries without having a rod kicker. It makes it so much easier for me to sail it single-handed, or just with my wife. The captain is on board with our little daughter, that we don't have to mess around with the topping lift and all that stuff. Now we have autopilot on, but releasing the main sheet here, and the boom springs up nicely. So no need for that pesky topping lift. That was really annoying because of the square top sail there. I hope that you enjoyed this little project video. I really enjoyed making both the video and, of course, some more carbon fiber stuff for this little beautiful carbon fiber boat. I will continue my sail. I think this thing is going to be super eventful because we have about 4 knots of wind. I left the marina probably like 25 minutes ago and it's there. Yeah, but it's also nice, not that stressful. So until next time, see you.